1.3 seconds. That's how long it takes a woman to fall 25 feet. It's also how long it takes to turn a life into gold. The afternoon of October 4, 2002, I was on a date, hiking in the Malibu hills. Ever since my mountain man father had taken me backpacking for the first time when I was 5, I'd been an avid outdoors woman. Scrambling over the boulders in the middle of the wild Stanislaus River, that was heaven, my true home. In fact, anywhere, doing anything where I could move my body was home. I'd been a dancer my whole life too, danced weekly, if not daily, for decades. To move myself in relation to something else was to be flooded with life force. And so, when I saw the perfect tree, I started climbing. Within minutes, I was 25 feet up, each branch drawing me higher. When I finally came to rest, Dean, my date, started telling the longest joke in history. And while I was waiting for the punchline, I heard a loud crack. If you had asked me, just moments before I fell, what is your worst conscious fear? I would have said paralysis. To be immobile was akin to death, and I couldn't imagine surviving. But 1.3 seconds later, I was paraplegic. Impact had shattered my 11th vertebra and crushed my spinal cord, like a ripe banana smashed inside its skin. Paralysis turned out to be so much worse than I was expecting. And not only could I not walk, run, dance, climb, but I couldn't feel scalding heat or the softest caress. I lost control of both my bladder and bowel. I lost all sexual sensation. Within weeks, spinal cord injury had leached the minerals from my bones, leaving them brittle as twigs, plaguing me with fractures. And this list doesn't even include the constant limitations of a world not built for wheels. Paralysis was a barrel of surprises. But the biggest surprise is how much better it made my life. So that you can grasp the magnitude of this change, allow me to paint a picture of my life pre-injury. I was 33 years old, single, without a home or a career. I'd recently been through a painful breakup that landed me indefinitely in the spare bedroom of some friends. I'd been trying for years to get an acting career off the ground, but I was still working a part-time day job while mostly volunteering my talent. I was frequently depressed, often for months at a time, and I was dogged by chronic anxiety. And despite a master's degree, good experience, and heartfelt desire, my life was sort of limping along. But within months, paralysis began to change almost everything. And nowhere was this more clear than in business. Before I knew it, I'd gone from being a semi-professional, unknown local actor with little to say to a nationally touring, critically acclaimed storyteller and speaker, guided by clear vision and a driving sense of purpose, leading conversations and workshops across the country, increasing my self-employed income by more than 10,000%. Over the years, a whole body of work was forged, like a blade in flame. A philosophy and methodology I call the Shiro's Way, and I launched a coaching practice. I became a published author. I was heard on national radio. Paralysis even revealed a great love. I got married and gave birth to a shining baby boy. How is that possible? No one was more surprised than I. Paralysis obliterated my chronic depression. How had that happened? Well, for one thing, the fall showed me just how precious my life really was, and that made me fierce about living it. When it came to business, it meant the old excuses lost their power. Things like self-doubt, not knowing how to do something, fear of failure or humiliation. I still felt them. They just couldn't stop me anymore. But there's more to it than that. Most simply, paralysis introduced me to a new paradigm for relating to adversity. As soon as I realized there was nothing I could do to prevent the fall, I did something I had never done. I surrendered. And in that moment, the whole event dropped into slow motion, and the most glorious peace came over me. And I hung in the air like a feather falling through syrup, and felt for the first time the bliss of being perfectly present. And even after I slammed into the ground and a broken rib ripped a hole in my lung and I couldn't breathe and I couldn't feel or move my legs, I realized that something extraordinary was happening. And a voice inside my head put me on alert. It said, everything you need to know is happening right now. My job was to pay attention, and most of all, to remember what I was learning. The first lesson, adversity does not have to mean war. When the ex-boyfriend called it quits, my instinct was to fight. Not him, but the loss. Beat it or be beaten by it. Those were the only options I could see. But diving headlong into a new life had dislocated me from something really important inside me. And without it, I was a loose cannon. I never stopped to consider what loss might have for me. I just wanted to get back to good. So I pushed myself to overcome. That's what we value, right? Overcoming adversity. Except I pushed myself right out of a tree. Oh. Steeling myself against loss, pushing back with the full force of my will had been disastrous. And when it came to fighting paralysis, because you can be sure I tried, the fight made me physically ill. No, if I was going to make it, there had to be another way. And following my fall's directive, I discovered a third option. In between, beat it or be beaten by it. An option that activated my creative power. As businesswomen, we all face challenges. Sometimes we get lucky, it's just a minor setback. Other times, we get hit right where we live. What if those challenges could be a slingshot? What if adversity, personal and professional, was actually designed to pull us back, hold us in a state of creative tension, and then shoot us forward, far beyond anywhere we've ever been? I mean, think about it. What could we achieve if we met every challenge ready to harness that potential? And what does it take to access such power? Lesson number 2. How we relate to adversity determines how it acts on us. I think it's evident that I haven't beaten paralysis. Disability is an inescapable context in which my life unfolds. And yet, I sit before you a leader, confident in my purpose, enjoying success I didn't know standing. Now, in order to access those benefits, I had to stop treating paralysis like an enemy and start treating it like an opportunity. I had to get curious, and I had to become willing to be changed, even in ways I couldn't control. It was a terrifying decision. But in order to soar, I had to lay down my weapons and step instead into a dance. That meant listening and responding rather than reacting. And it meant I had to take responsibility. I'm here now. What am I going to do with this? The dance wasn't always elegant, I assure you. Mostly it was clumsy, sometimes brutal, and often it was magnificent. And everything I have, everything I am today, flows from that dance. I'm not thriving despite adversity. I thrive because of it. And finally, I learned that all adversity offers this opportunity. Let's talk specifically about business for a minute. A few years after I began coaching women to harness the catapult potential in their adverse circumstances, I got inspired to create a group program. I poured my expertise into the content, worked with my web guy to create a stunning sales page, and lovingly reached out to my community with the benefits of joining. Not a single person responded. I'm certain that has never happened to anyone else in this room. Well, seeing my next quarter earnings coming under attack, I felt the familiar impulse. Beat it or be beaten by it. Unconsciously, I grabbed my battle axe. Where else could I promote? How could I push this? And then I remembered that dance. I took a breath, pushed pause on the war plans, and started asking questions. What was the opportunity here? What did I really want? And what could this situation tell me about who I was being and who I could become in business? Well, from there, it was clear the program wasn't timely, but I didn't have a backup. Dropping the program meant losing months of preparation. But I stayed in the dance. I kept asking questions. I kept taking action on the answers as they were revealed. I canceled the program, and within a few weeks, my private practice was flooded. I made my quarter and then some, with a tenth the promotional effort. No matter the challenge, paralysis or failed launch, the choice to dance is always there. And when we make it, our challenges stop happening just to us or at us, and they start happening for us. Paralysis is still a drag. It makes everything I do slower and harder, and I still ache for everything I've lost. But now, I have this dance, and the life force is flowing. I have been in the Slingshot, and I am telling you, there are no limits.